Hi all, welcome back to my channel. So today in our session, we are going to understand what is data flow transformation in Azure Data Factory instance. Okay, so our agenda of this session is we'll understand the data flow. Before that, we have understood till now we have understood how we can use the copy transformation, right? Or not transformation, copy data activity to move your to copy your data from source to destination when there is a no change in between. But just in case, now taken a scenario where we have data in our source file or source table or whatever the source would be, and we have to modify something. Either we have to modify schema, if we have to add some columns, we have to do some other things, lot of things. We have to join data between the different sources and then combine the data and then put it into the sink or put it in the destination. All those scenarios, okay, that comes into the mapping data flow transformation that we can do using the data flow transformation in Azure Data Factory. So if you can see in my portal, this is portal I have opened it, and this is the Azure Data Factory Studio which I have opened here. And in this Azure Data Factory Studio, we have to go to the author tab. In the author tab, you can see we have a pipelines, data set, data flows, Power Query. So if you see, we have worked so much inside the pipelines. We have created so many pipelines. Now this is the data flow, and data flow we have to create. So if you go and I'll show you one of the data flow how it will look like earlier which I have created. If I click on this, you can see this data flow looks like this. Okay, here we have suppose it's a kind of a joining. I'm joining union all from these two data sets and put it into the same. So what happened, I have two data sources. If you can look thoroughly, this is employee data and this is employee detail, and after joining it, these two arrows is coming and join it here using the union all transformation, and then once the data will be union all will be combined, then I will put into the sink location, or sink is nothing but a destination. Okay, so this is the transformation that we will data flow transformation that we will use. So in the Azure Data Factory, usually we have two types of a data transformation, two types, one in mapping data flow transformation and another is wrangling data flow. So basically what I show here is nothing in the studio here. What I show here, this is a mapping data flow transformation. Okay, this is this is a normal where we have not used what do you call Power Query in Wrangly data flow, where we have Power Query engine. It can be used Power Query engines to use the data from the Power Query, prepare the data, and then transform the data and then put it in the destination. So that if that is the your sources is coming from the Power Query, then you can use the Power Wrangling data flow. In our case, I will start with the mapping data flow where the sources could be anything other than Power Query, like it could be a Cosmos DB, it could be data coming from your file, delimited text file, delimited CSV file, a JSON file, it could be your Azure SQL database table. So all other stuff if you have, then sources if you have, then you can use the mapping data flow. So here quickly I'll go to the, if you wanted to understand lots of theory about the data flow transformation as a data factory, so we have lots of very good documentation given by the Microsoft. If you can Google and read it about the theory part, you will completely understand. Here I'll show you a demo. You can see the demo and then you can make your understanding about it. So as you can see here, studio I have opened here. So I'm going to create a one data flow. So what we are doing in our demo, I have a storage account. Okay, let me open this. I'll show you what I have in my storage account. So storage account is my blob storage account. It's not ADLS account. So I have a container. Inside the blob storage, I have container. Inside container, I have two folders, input and output. If I click on output, I'll show you there is nothing. Okay, so my output folder is completely blank. Now I go back and click on input folder. So here if you see, I have uploaded two files from my local machine, that is custdata.csv and custdetails.csv. If I click on it, I'll show you the content of this. Click on add it, and here if you can see, it contains the three headers: column ID, cust name, location, and two rows. Okay, two data rows and one header row: ID, cust name, and location. If I click on cust details.csv file, here you can see also the same header columns, okay, id, cust name, location, and two data rows, two different. So both the details is having more same schema and same number of columns and two rows inside it. Okay, so my agenda is what I'm going to do. I wanted to union all. I needed to create a one file out of this two file and combine all the data in one file and put that file in my destination. And what would be my destination? For simplicity, I wanted to load my combine that final file in my output folder. Okay, so in input folder I have two files. I will combine it, okay, make a one file and put it in the output folder. So this is the agenda. This is the agenda of our data flow transformation which we are going to do. So how we can achieve this? We have to go to Azure Data Factory here, and we have to create, because see, in pipeline, if I create in copy activity, we cannot do it. We cannot combine it. Okay, the copy activity is basically use which we have, which you have just learned in my previous sessions till so far, that we use the copy activity to copy a single file or single data source, right? But here my requirement is to join. So how we can do? So either you can create a new data flow from here. Okay, new data flow. So here you can see, so what I can make, df and cust output file. Let's say I have given this name. Okay, and here if you see, the moment I have, let me close this data flow, I have given a name. This is my canvas. Okay, in open canvas I have only the parameters and setting which is blank. Okay, here you can see add sources. It is asking me to create a sources, which source you wanted to. So there's one thing that you can note here. You can create a n number of sources. If you have multiple files you wanted to combine using the union or transformation, you can do, you can also do that. There is no limitation here. So click on add sources. We have add roulette also. I will cover this in the later session. Okay, so click on add source. If you click here, you can see what is my source. You have to give the name of your source. So here let me give a name. What is one source for this file? Okay, and another source for this file. So let me give this src cust data. So click on it. Okay, we got some error here, that we need to remove this src. Underscore will not work, any special character will not work. So just remove that source cust data. Okay, here if you see here, there are a lot of options. We will discuss one by one. Source type, so it is asking which type of the source you would like to have it. So in case of copy data activity, you remember there is nothing as such. Okay, here we have two types of a source, like dataset or inline. The difference is that when we have if we have a normal data set, like if we do not need any parameters to be passed on, okay, in that case we can use the data sets. And the second and in case of inline, when everything source is heavily parameterized, okay, in that case you can use the inline source type. Okay, in our case we do not have any parameters to be passed, so we can use the data set. And one more difference between the data set and inline type of the source type is that it is uh, it is based on the Spark engine. Okay, inline is based on the Spark engine, whereas the dataset is not part in the not used in the data Spark engine. So you can use the dataset if you have a very small files, not big files to be processed. So you can use that, and if you don't have any parameterized things also need to be taken care, so you can use that one. Okay, but for very complex things and where you have everything need to be passed in the parameters and the file is also big enough, you can use the inline. And there is all because the Spark will be used, so there would be a cost as well. Okay, so go to the I will select the data set, and we need to create a new data set. So let me click on new, and my data set it's of file. My source file would be in Azure Blob Storage, so I'll select this data store, and my file is nothing but a CSV. So I select the delimited text, click on continue. Now put data source like cust underscore will not work, I think, ds cust. data source forecast. That is fine. Now click on link service. Link service I already have, which is connected to my blob container, connected to my this one Azure blob storage account 01 dep, my storage account. So that is there. I need to pass the complete location, complete the path. So go to the specific path, select your file. So this would be my first source. Go to the input, and this would be this file because data.csv would be my first source. So select it. First row as a header I wanted. Yes, in my file first row is nothing but my header, so I wanted to select that. Import schema. Yes, I wanted to import schema. If you don't want to import schema, you can click on no. So that is okay. Let me keep the schema as well. So this is fine. Okay, now here if you can see whatever the file or whatever the data set you have selected, now three options are given here. Options for allowed schema drift, it is related to your schema of your file, schema of not only the file. If your data set is Azure SQL database table, so schema of your table. Okay, so schema, allow schema. So let's discuss one by one. First option is allow schema drift. So this option enable you that if any data, any changes in the schema of your file, of your columns in file is possible, then you wanted to carry it on in your data flow, then you have to click on it. Okay, just in case if you make it turn off, so what will happen if your file is not correct? Not correct as in, if your file, suppose two rows is there, in third row in the column number id, which is basically integer type, but your file is containing some string type. Okay, so file, so it will not allow the schema drift. So okay, so it will fail. So in that case, you can use, if you wanted to allow the schema drift, some kind of the changes in your file which you wanted to allow it, so you can use the allow schema drift. Okay, infer drifted column type. So here what is saying, they wanted to see the infer means, like I wanted to infer, I wanted to inherit the column types of the new column types which I am going to add. Okay, so suppose we have these three columns. Okay, I'll go to and open the file. id, customer, location. Okay, so I wanted to see what is the file data type. So here if you go and check your projection, so as of now whatever coming from the csv file, it is taking in a string. Okay, so this is all string. So here in projection you can change the data type as well. If you wanted to change, you can change it. Okay, and here if you wanted to change, if you want, if new column you have added, just in case if you call added a new column, so that column is not presented in your file and you have added new column, so you wanted to create an a schema of that column. Okay, for that, inherit the drifted column types. So inherit the schema of that column. So if you turn it on, then it will infer the schema of your file data types. Validate schema, this is the third option. It will make your file very compact, or not compact, we can say what do you call, if your schema what you have defined in the projection is not in your data set, is not matched with the file data. Okay, whatever the data is coming in the file, then it will fail your data flow. So that means whatever the data set, in data set, whatever the schema is of your file is there, that should be matched with whatever the data is containing in your file. So if you tick it all, if you select on, then it will check the validate the schema. If you schema is validated, then only it will proceed into the further step, otherwise it will not proceed into the further step. If you click on this infer drifted column and go to the projection. Okay, and here if you wanted to reset the schema, so okay, one more thing, if you wanted to do anything here, so there you have to, everything need to be done, you have to turn on the data flow debug. So what is data flow debug is, basically it is based on the data flow transformation. At the end will be done using the spark clusters. Okay, the spark clusters, the engine will be responsible for doing all the transformation. So for that you have to turn it on. So turn it on here. It will ask you integration runtime. I can use the auto resolve integration runtime. See, for to save some money, I need to keep it very small. Always it is recommended to keep it very small. Okay, but you have a very huge files or everything. In that case, you have to make it very big. and debug as 1 hours by default. You can keep it if you are working heavily in the data factory transformation, then you can keep it 2 hours, but recommended is at least 1 hour. So click on OK. So it will take some seconds to turn it on. Once the data flow debug will be on, then you will be able to see all the options. You can able to reset the schema and do all those stuff. So see here, cluster is ready, and if you can see, there is one session ID will be generated behind the curtain. Okay, so these three options you can see, it will if you changes in the schema, then it will allow it. If you wanted to infer or inherit the schema which is in the file, then you can use it. If you wanted to validate the schema before even doing any transformation, then you can use this option. If you wanted to skip any line count, suppose in my file, sometimes what will happen, this is very simple file. Okay, sometimes what will happen, we have file like this. What do you call, we have, suppose we have file name. Okay, in the file, inside the file, we can have the customer file, customer name by reason. Okay, and then it will start with id, name, and country. Okay, then region, like that. So these are the four columns. So and this entire is the file. So this is the very first row which I don't wanted to proceed. This is the descriptive data in my file. So this kind of descriptive data I don't wanted to use in the transformation. So in that case, you can skip such kind of lines. For that, you can use you can use this option, and you can skip your descriptive data is like in 4 lines. So you can skip those 4 lines. So that you can do it. In my files, it's not like that. Here sampling is basically used, by default it is disabled. It is used in the case of debugging. If you anything went wrong and you wanted to check your data flow, what is went wrong, and you wanted to check only for the first 1100 rows or first 500 rows, so you can sample it. You can cut off the rows to do the debugging. Otherwise, because it is running on the cluster, it will take so much time. Suppose you have a millions of records coming, and there is some in one line, there is some issues, so you cannot debug it for 1 million or record multiple times, right? So what you can do, you can do the some limit in the rows, and then you can do the debugging. So in that case, you can use sampling. So this is advanced feature, and this is being used when you wanted to debug your data flow. So this is high level information I have given. So I need to give in source setting, we need to give the name of the source, we need to give what kind of the source type you use. We have to provide all this stuff. Okay, let me now not infer it. And source column, so based on the whatever the data set you have chosen, okay, then the source option will appear. If you use not the file, if you use, suppose your source is coming from the Azure SQL database, okay, then your source option will be different. So it is completely based on your source settings. So in my case, it is the Azure blob storage. So source option is like coming from for files, because I have chosen file as my source. So if you see, for file, it is asking file part, wildcard part. If you wanted to, instead of giving a single file, if you give suppose a directory, so it is asking me like in that directory which all kind of file you wanted to load it, like CSV files or XLS file or some kind of thing. Okay, allow no files and all those stuffs. There is some options. It's the advanced option in case you wanted to limit or limit your options while loading the file or loading the source file. So list of file, multi-line rows is there. Okay, if you wanted to enable the CDC in the file, so these are all those stuffs. So no need to worry about all those things. There is one more options, like after completion, once the data flow will be done, what you wanted, you want this file, source file, to be deleted, you wanted to move to some other location, like you can move that file once the transformation and done and move to the direct destination. You wanted to move your source file to some archive location, so you can pass that location also. Okay, so that is all there, so you can use it. And here is a projection. If you can see, projection is basically it's a kind of, here you can change your if you are not suppose your source file is the database where the schema is correct. Okay, where the schema is, we can expect that the schema is not drifted. It will be, in fact it's very less chances where the schema of the column will be changes. Okay, but if the data is coming from the file, there the chances of changes. So in that case, you can use the projection option to change your data type of your columns. Okay, so here I can make it as an integer for id. I can make it as an integer, so that you can do it. If you wanted to reset, you can reset. Okay, and then you can import the projection. So let me reset it. If I reset it and if I import the projection, so see, when I click on import projection, earlier it was not working because my debug option was not enabled, but now my debug option is enabled. My data flow cluster is enabling me to import the projection. Okay, so let it be. So I have imported. So just it will take a couple of seconds. Please wait for any other data flow actions to complete. See, the projection has been done. So it is saying when I import the projection, it is saying, so ID is short, I is string and string. Okay, so I have inherited the schema which is coming from the file, that is this one. So that is fine. Optimize is like you wanted to partition your file, or you wanted to do a single partition. Okay, so in that case, I want just now I wanted only a single file. Okay, because there is not lots there is only two records in my source file, so there is no need to partition the transformation. Okay, to do the joining of these records. Suppose my cust data is having 1 million record and cust detail is also having 1 million records. In that case, for better performance, I should use the current partitioning, or I need to set the partition. If I click on set partition, it will ask how many partition you wanted to need it. So partition is like kind of processing your data parallelly. Okay, if I have that much huge file, so I need to set my partition, and I can make it as a 10 partition, or I wanted the data to be 1 million records should be partitioned by 10, and parallelly it will process the data. So it will make your data flow transformation optimized, and it will take less time to doing the transformation. But in my case, it's only two records. So in that case, I wanted only a single partition. No need to do all this thing. Okay. So what we can do is we'll click on single partition, inspect. So when everything is done, you can inspect your data types here. How many rows, how many columns is there, and what are the types of data types. Okay, data types of your columns, that you can inspect. And the last is nothing but a data flow. So if you wanted to see what is the data is coming, okay, so you can refresh and you can check it over here. So this is a very good thing that Microsoft has given us. Here you can see, okay, this is the before even doing the party, before even doing started the transformation, we have checked the source file, that okay, this is the source file is coming in such format, and this is fine. When we satisfied, okay, everything is fine, then we can go to the further steps. So this is first file. Okay, first source. Now I needed to create another I needed to add another source. So click on another source here, src, and in that case this is my cust detail. The second file, you know, right, this is cust detail. So this is second source. So same thing, I will not explain all this item. The same options will appear for the cust details as well. Here I need to select the cust data. I need to create a data set, and my data set is Azure Blob Storage, delimited text file. So I'll do a little bit faster. Cust detail, link service I have already created. First row as a header. I need to select the file. File is residing inside the input folder, custdetail.csv, and click on OK. So my data set is set here. You wanted to test connection, you can test connection. All this thing, testing connection, data preview, inspect, optimize, okay, projection, this will work only if your data flow cluster is open. Okay, and we'll keep everything, allow schema drift is fine, source option not needed. Here we need to make it as a, need to reset it. Okay, until and unless this first one will not be done, we the second command to the cluster will not be taken care. So let's wait for the testing connection to be proceed, and after that we will we will import the projection for the data types of the file. See, connection is successful. Now go to the projection and reset the schema here. and import the projection. See here also in the second file short string. So optimize, we wanted only a single partition to do the activity. Inspect, okay, we have a 3 columns with a short intent column. Data preview, you wanted to see what is the data preview, okay, of the second source, that we can do it here. So here you can see we have two records, okay, and one header. Now our source is been set up. Now what we need to do as part of the click on the canvas, as part of the transformation we wanted to union all, okay. For that you have to do is you have to click on here. You can see there are a lot of, you can see lot of options is available. Multiple category wise you can see lot of options are available which you can do the transformation of. Like you can join these two sources, you can join the data on the basis of conditional split. Like on the basis of conditional split you can do it. You can check the existence of some particular record. You can do union, which we are going in this session. All this thing I will cover one by one in the next session. Lookup, if you wanted to look up for some records and then extract only those records which satisfy the lookup condition, then you can use this one. This is basically for joining thing, okay. So multiple input and output category, it will come inside this multiple input output category. And the second is, you can see the schema modifier. So this is basically all these things is modifying your schema inside your source. Like you can add a new column into your cust data. For that you can create a derived column, okay. If you wanted to select one record only, then you can use this select transformation. If you wanted to aggregate, you can suppose you wanted to perform a sum, okay, you wanted to total of your sales, so that case you can use this aggregate. Surrogate key is nothing, it is like if you wanted to give some identity column in your file or your source. Suppose your source is file is not having any identity columns in your or sequence numbers for your rows. In that case, surrogate key transformation you can use it. Pivoting and unpivoting is transforming your row to columns, so that you can use it. For ranking and all, these are the options which you can use. For casting purpose, you wanted to cast some data type, okay. In that case, cast transformation you can use. So this is all comes under the schema modifier, because these are all changing the schema of your source. Okay, the third category is formatter. Formatter means like you wanted to change the format of the layout of the data which is coming from your source. Okay, when I say source, it could be a file, it could be a table, it could be anything else. It could be a JSON file, it could be anything. Flatten means in JSON file, it basically works for the JSON files where we have a hierarchical, multiple hierarchical parent-child nodes. So there you wanted to flatten the records. In that case, you can use it. Parse stringified is also the advanced feature which I will cover in the next session. Row modifier. If you wanted to modify the particular row in your source, so these are the options, or these are the transformation which is provided. Like you wanted to filter down. Suppose I wanted to filter down the records on the basis of country ID equal to USA. I wanted to filter only those records, extract only those records whose country ID is USA. So we can use that. If you wanted to sort it, sort means ascending or descending order. Okay. Alter row, assert. So I'll cover it in the next session. Flowlet is I'll cover its advanced feature. And the last is nothing but a destination. Once the transformation is done, you wanted to put it somewhere, okay. The desired format or desired data after the transformation would come, you wanted to put it in some destination. So for that, sync is there. So in this session, what we need to do is we need to do union. So I'll select the union all. Here if you can see, there is no option to drag and discuss detail and do it here. In case of a, just in case if you have worked in ssis, we have an option, we can drag and drop it here. In this case, in Azure Data Factory, it's not there. What we need to do to connect this custom detail with the union, you have to select here and you have to mention like output stream name is union, okay, union all cust, okay, union all cust. So incoming stream is source cust data, and here it is, you have to union with which, I have to union with the second one, src cust detail. In case if I have multiple sources, all the sources will be listed down here. So as soon as you select it, you can see the there is a connector, it's connect with the cust details to the union node. Okay, now there is one thing which we have to consider here, union by. So here we can two options, union by, you wanted to union by name or you wanted to union by position. So name means you wanted to union by name, like id, like you wanted to union by id of cust data should union with id of cust detail, cust name of cust data.csv will union with cust name of cust detail.csv. So that is what, by naming of the header, the union of the combining of the data will be done, and position, and if you select this then it will take the position like 0th 1 and 2. So just in case if you swap the sequencing over here, okay, in one of the file, then what will happen, it will irrespective of the data type, it will join as per the order. Okay, it helps to combine the data based on the order of the columns irrespective of the data types is mismatch or not. So we'll do by name. C for optimize, as I have a small file, single partition. You wanted to select here, you can see ID custom name short int. So it is saying number of string is 2. That means number of source is 2. Okay, I don't have more. If I have more, then you can give number of 3 or 5. So you can see this order. This is the order 1, 2, 3. ID custom name and ID custom name. So it is the custom detail, and this is for custom data. Okay, now if you wanted to see until this, if you wanted to see what data is coming, so you can click on refresh and see. So this is very, at every step you can see with the help of the data preview that my data is going fine or not. You can see here uh, 1 2 3 as expected, 4 records should came. So here as in the data preview we can see the 4 record is coming. Now the once the data is fine, I wanted to sync, I wanted to put it in my destination. And what is my destination? Destination is my output folder. I wanted to put my file, combined file into this output folder. So what I need to do here, I need to click on this plus icon, I need to go down, and in the sync I need, in this destination category I need to select this sync. So here I need to put final cust data. Okay, and here sync type is nothing but a data set. You have to click an Azure blob storage, limited text file, and here you can see data set sync. Let's say give this name, link service is blob, first name, first row I wanted as a header, and you need to give the path. So here I don't have any file name. You can click on output. If you wanted to give some file name, you can give it here. The new file will be created with this name. So let me see, final cust data or details dot csv. So with this name I wanted to be created in my destination location. Okay, we cannot do it here. Let me remove it as of now. Click on OK. The file name will be created here. If you wanted to skip any line, as I told you earlier, if you have any descriptive data, you can remove those line. So that is fine here. If you wanted to see the settings, these are the settings. If any error came, just in case while doing the dumping of data in your destination, some error came, for those erroneous records, what you wanted to do, you wanted to put in some kind of another file, or you wanted to do some in some location. So for that, there is an option, you can do it here. Here is the option mapping. You can see the mapping. See, skip, if you wanted to skip duplicate records, suppose one record is here and one record, same kind of record is also here. So if we do the duplicate union all, then duplicate records will come into your final file. If you wanted to skip that, you can take this. If you wanted to keep that also, you have to turn it on. Okay, you have to uncheck this mark. So I wanted to skip, and here optimization is single partition inspect. If you can see here, everything seems fine. In data flow also, a data preview, you can see what once the data will be loaded, in what format the data will be loaded in my in the final file. So here if you can see here, all the 4 records will be done. So everything seems fine. Data flow transformation, I need to do, the final step is I need to validate my data flow. See, your data flow is being validated. Now I wanted to run it. So there is no option to run it here. So now question arises, how we can run my data flow. So basically data flow you can create it, but you cannot run it. You have to have call this data flow inside your pipeline. So first I'll do one thing. I'll publish all this thing what we have created in the data flow, and I'll go here. Meanwhile it will publish. I'll create one pipeline. So click on one pipeline, and inside that pipeline I will call this data flow. Okay. So here in the move and transform category, instead of copy data, I'll call this data flow, and here you have to give the name of the data flow. I have already created one data flow, right? So this one you have drag and drop here. Okay. One thing, you can create a data flow right inside the pipeline from the starting, or if you created a data flow here, you can drag and drop here inside your pipeline. So here I can give PL data flow for cust data. So this is the pipeline for data flow cust data. So this is fine. Let me collapse it. Let me validate my pipeline. So we do not need to do anything, no parameter, nothing at all. We have to only call our data flow which we have created inside our pipeline. So here we have an option to debug to see that the file is transformation is done, unit transformation is performing well or not. So click on debug. Here is the option from where you can debug your data flow, and you can see. So it is running. Here you can see. It will take some time, and make sure that data flow debug option will be turned on, otherwise it will not work. Okay, it got succeeded. If you see here, it got succeeded. Data flow, it says its a type is data flow. If you wanted to check the click on lens button, and here you see finally it is saying it took 2 seconds. Okay, and rows written it is saying 4. So the layout is little bit different, okay, in the data flow. And if you go and check in your output folder, go to your Azure storage account, click on output folder, you can see one file is being created. Okay, file name is auto generated, but if you can click on this file, one file is only generated, and click on add it. Here you can see all the two record is coming from the first file, and second two records is coming from the second file. So it combine it and make it one file, and it is put into your destination location. So this way you can use your data flow activity. You can use your data flow transformation inside your pipeline and create perform your make changes or perform your transformation, and then load it into your destination. So in this session I have shown you only the what you call only the unit transformation. We have lots of transformation which I have shown you. Like if you go here, click on plus icon, you can see so many transformation we have. So in this session I have covered only the unit transformation, and I have given the basic idea what the transformation means, about how what is the layout and what are the options that we have here, how what is the projections, okay, how we can inspect the data type, okay, difference between a data set and inline source types. So all those steps we have covered here. Next session, slowly and gradually we will cover all the data transformation here one by one. Okay, till the time I hope you understood the concept, and till the time happy learning. I hope.